Yeah, yeah.
All the way here.
Yeah, I remember doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interactive. It would be less teaching, more. Yeah, we get people doing creativity.
So I'm going to speak for about 1 minute, welcoming everyone, and then later we'll introduce you.
How are you? Yeah, Bill Woodbury. Bill Woodbury, I recognize you from the racial conversation. Me too. All right, sure. Yeah, yeah, got you. I'm a little worried. I always know what you're going to say. Oh, I trust me. Okay. Oh, yeah, like. There's that time in Richmond.
It's actually longer than
You told the first night in my parents' house story.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
I mean, and you don't have to tell that yet. I was thinking.
You remember me?
Yes, I do, and your website looks so good on Canva.
Thank you for helping
Yay,
me.
it looks so good.
I'm still learning.
Yeah, well, it's all the
stuff.
time. We all are, yeah. But it looks so good.
Thanks to you. Like, I could not do it without you.
Oh, good. I'm glad. It looks great.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, well, and yeah, my dad sometimes does artificial insemination. And the first night, Kalela visited home. And my dad, late at night, we got back to
Everybody.
That
was the artwork.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Children.
And
Somehow.
and Kalela.
I remember Joanna said, not as many people have signed up.
Right, I'm wondering too now, based on what you just said. Yeah.
It's just
Okay, all right.
Okay. That's why you're writing.
Can I go?
It's not quite.
Kalela has earned her side midway.
Hey, what you doing?
Just roaming around.
Rolling around.
I almost left the house at 1:30. And I was speaking until about 1:30. I was in Dollar Tree. Oops, and I said, let me look. He was in so well.
Well, no, they had Sunny at the front door. I'm wanting to put the eye candy here to get people to come in. I was
She said I had a volunteer to show up on Friday. I don't have any volunteers on Friday. I don't know if Friday's today. I definitely didn't schedule it. Can someone find sign?
Oh, I didn't get here about 12.
Hey there, Tanya. How you doing? Hot and sweaty. I'm good. Nice to meet you.
Lunch was so fun. I just love that part.
Yeah, we love lunch.
We love lunch, and they do too. And all these authors are all nervous. We all meet someone they never met before. Good conversation.
A leader has the mic. Okay, guys. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Especially English teachers. I didn't even mention them.
Yours truly, the one who keeps us all together.
That is absolutely true. We're ready.
Yeah, leader has the mic. Okay, for you guys. Yeah.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Lancaster Community Library, and I think it's our 4th annual Author Expo. We're really excited this year. I think we have more authors than ever, so we're so glad you're here. I'm Alice Cooper, the director of the Lancaster Community Library. I can't find my badge, so I had to just do a regular sticky like everyone else. I wanted to mention what's coming up next in our special Evening with series. That's on Thursday evenings at 6:30. And as Tanya said, the woman who keeps us all together, Shelley Robertson over in the corner, who's live streaming us, she will be our featured presenter. And she is giving a speech on Scam Alert. Don't click that link. So I hope you all will come back for that. Almost everything we do here is free of charge, and so her program is as well. Without further ado, a leader, come on up.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alina Baker Rogers, and I actually have the honor to introduce our keynote speaker to you this afternoon. So, Kalela Williams hails from Atlanta, Georgia, with stops in Virginia, my hometown of Philadelphia, and Virginia again. Kalela earned a bachelor's degree in English from the University of Mary Washington, which is Mary Washington College, and a master's go Mary Washington, and a master's in fine arts in creative writing from Goddard College. She's a former program director of One Book, One Philadelphia, which was an incredibly important project in the city of Philadelphia. She's the former director of the Neighborhood Library Enrichment Programming for the Free Library of Philadelphia Foundation. She served as the director of writing with the Philadelphia-based Mighty Writers Project for Kids, another incredibly important program. And she's also a former board member of the Historical Society of Pennsylvania. Quite a bit going on there. I was trying to keep up with it all. She currently serves, and the reason that she's here today to talk to us, she currently serves as the director of Virginia Humanities, Virginia's Center for the Book, and as the co-founder of the Off Center in Stanton, Virginia. Tangleroot. Tangleroot, which is her debut novel of a mother and daughters coming together around a family's hidden history, was published by Macmillan in October of 2024. That book's downstairs with lots of other books that you all know about, right? Please join me in welcoming Kalela into the Northern Neck and to Lancaster County's Library's 2025 Author Expo for a discussion on the Center for the Book and the Festival of the Book. Kalela.
Oh, it's so wonderful to, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Awesome, it's so wonderful for Alina to introduce me. I have her book, I was a fan of her book, it came out in 2020,
Yeah.
and we were both living in Philadelphia. I feel like we've crossed paths at the library. It's so wonderful that she's here introducing me, such an honor, and it's such an honor to be here. Alice Cooper invited me, we talked about my coming here to visit last year. I think we met a year ago when Alice visited Virginia Humanities in Charlottesville, And I said, yeah, I'd love to come out here. And so it's so great to be here. It's really great to be in this space um, and to be a part of this community, especially meeting authors. Those of you who are authors, it's so awesome to meet you. I'm going to come around to everybody's table and say hello, but for now, as a group, it's just so great to be in this space with everybody. And for those of you who are aspiring authors or just people who love to read, it's just, I love being among readers. I love being among bookish people. And I think all of us are readers. We just don't know it. Maybe some of us don't know it, but I know that the folks here do know it. And thank you for claiming that. So yeah, so I have a mason jar right here. I've got this mason jar. And does anybody have a one-word memory associated with a mason jar? Just one word. Shout it out.
Lemonade.
Apple jelly, pickles. What else? Moonshine. Anybody else? Anybody else? Strawberries, fireflies.
Yeah, right, that's there.
Nails. Okay, okay. Screws. Yes, yes, yes. So a lot of things here. So I have a couple of words associated with a mason jar. One of them is jam, and a lot of people mention that, and another is honey. And the other thing about mason jars to me is that they have everything to do with books. And I'll tell you in just a few minutes why jam and honey and books go together with a mason jar, because I want to talk about the value and the importance of books. And I'm of course, preaching to the choir, but I want to be a reminder of why books are so important and why they're so vital and why they bring us together. And we're going to take this humble mason jar as an example. First, a little about myself. As Alina said, I'm Kalela Williams, and I work for Virginia Humanities. We are the state's Humanities Council. We are in our 50th year. We host, we have a variety of programs. So we host a radio show and podcast called With Good Reason, which shares knowledge and discoveries. We have a grants and fellowships programs which supports research and projects that tell the stories of Virginians. We have education and community initiatives, which is a coordinating office for projects and partnerships across the organization, providing resources for educators as well. We have Virginia Folk Life, which documents and supports cultural traditions. And this is actually, this picture here is from a recent event in Clintwood, Virginia, so it's way on the other side of the state. They had a mural dedication and some other programs around murals, which was really exciting. So Virginia Humanities gets across the state, based in Charlottesville, but getting across the state. And we also have Encyclopedia Virginia, which provides, it's a free, reliable source of the history of Virginia. And I'll tell you, when I was writing Tangleroot, I used Encyclopedia a lot, Virginia a lot. This is before I even worked for Virginia Humanities, so when I got a chance to meet the folks here, I was like, oh, thank you, because I needed your research. I really appreciate it. And they have a nice little works cited section, so you can actually check out the books that the authors of the article used to research whatever it was. So all of these programs are really awesome. I'm so honored to work with such amazing colleagues at Virginia Humanities. And I direct the Virginia Center for the Book. I'm honored to direct the Virginia Center for the Book. It is a privilege and an opportunity. It's hard work, but I love it. And we are a Library of Congress affiliate. There are currently, right now, as we speak, 56 centers for the book. That might change, but there are currently 56 centers for the book across the United States as well as in United States territories. Our official mission is to work to unite communities through year-round programs and partnership initiatives. And our flagship program is the Virginia Festival of the Book. The Virginia Festival takes place each year in Charlottesville. We're in our 4th decade, so there's a lot of tradition behind us. We have a festival coming up March 20th through March 22nd in Charlottesville, Virginia. So you can mark your calendars, and I see some of you have a pen and paper and you're doing that. And for those of you if you want to stop by my table, I have little QR codes. You can sign up for information once it comes out. We also do year-round events besides the festival, but our festival, of course, is our biggest program. The festival itself has featured hundreds of authors since its beginnings in 1995, and authors come from Virginia and all over the country. We work to craft programming that's fun, creative, insightful. We featured everything from a night of horror tales at a campsite to a Wuthering Heights puppet show directed by Davey White back there, to a creative writing session inspired by tarot cards, to a dance party for our 30th anniversary. So we've done a lot of fun and creative things, and we've also done a lot of author panels on many different subjects, and many different topics and all genres, everything from romance to politics to mystery. In fact, one of our authors, I don't think she's up here today, but she moderated one of our panels this past year. So there's a lot of opportunities with the Virginia Festival of the Book, and I'm happy to chat with you all. We engage with bookstores, organizations, historic sites, and many others. This event is taking place at New Dominion Bookstore in Charlottesville. We believe that books spark joy and that they bring communities together. Right here we have an author who spoke at our 2022 festival, Mal DeMarco, or 23 festival, excuse me, Mal DeMarco. His program was entirely in ASL. He spoke with a rapper, Wawa Snipes, who also speaks ASL, and so their program was in ASL, and it was broadcast in ASL with hearing interpreters, and we had many members of our community come out, and it was such a great event. It was just so awesome, and Davey stage managed for that too, because we relied on his ASL skills. So it was just a really great program for our community. Outside of work, I live in Stanton, Virginia, with my partner, Davey, who I've mentioned, and our 3 cats. I love Stanton. I love Charlottesville, but I also love Stanton. If y'all haven't been, has anybody been to Stanton? I know a leader has. A lot of you have, yes. Please come back. It's awesome. I love it. I really can't say enough about Stanton. You belong here. You belong here too. And I love the Tidewater area. I absolutely love it. It's so great to be back. So much of Virginia is just awesome and beautiful and wonderful, and I'm so glad. I'm so happy to be in this state. When I was a kid, I wanted to live in Virginia. When I was 13 years old, I came through the state for a wedding on our way to New York. My family was going to New York, and we stayed the night in the Tidewater area with my aunt, who was living here at the time. And I told my mom, I want to live in Virginia one day. And then when I went to college, she reminded me of that. And I left, as a leader mentioned, I left for Philadelphia. And Davey and I met there, and I was like, we decided to come back. Like right during the pandemic, we were like, yeah, we're gonna move. And it was 2 years after that, in 2022 when we moved. But we're just both so happy to be here. So in Stanton, we run a theater organization called the Off Center. It's a theater and storytelling organization. And it's right now Davey's, I say we run it. I'm the co-founder with Davey, but Davey is doing most of the work. So we've had avant-garde puppet theater is what he does. And he's gearing up for a program called Dad's Original Tangy Barbecue Sauce. It's a play. It's love, death, barbecue sauce, family. It's dark comedy. And it's really awesome. So if you all find yourselves in Stanton this month, please come see it. It's going to be starts July 16th and runs through the 24th. 6th. Yes. The Off Center also produced my book launch of my book, Tangleroot. So the book launch was a performative reading and a shadow puppetry show. Davey did the art for the show, and we also had another actor who helped voice some of the a character in the book, as well as help with moving the slides around as well as reading. So a lot of creative events, really exciting, really great things going on in Stanton. I am the author of Tangleroot, which is a YA coming-of-age novel about a young woman named Noni who moves from Boston into a house that her enslaved ancestor built in central Virginia.
Noni has a very perfectionist mother, but her mother has a lot of quibbles about telling the truth. And so Noni ends up finding some family history that she wish she knew. Or maybe she doesn't wish she knew. It's funny because the book opens up with a hot mic situation where she's at an event, she doesn't want to be there, she's kind of like, yeah, I don't want to be there. And, you know, folks hear her, and you know, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but she's wearing a mic like this. I can't hear myself being amplified, and I can see, I mean, it's definitely a reminder of how Noni made that mistake, so. During this book, Noni, while she's at this house that her enslaved ancestor built, she discovers a grave of a young white woman who is buried on the property in the family cemetery. Of course, there's many cemeteries on the property. There's another cemetery for other families, enslaved families. But when she sees this grave, she wants to know more about this young woman who's buried with a baby. And so as she's finding out her story, that's when the secrets start bubbling up to the surface. So I will say that Noni's story is not mine. My parents were far from perfectionists. My mother passed away in 2012, and she was born in 1948, and my dad was born in 1950. My mom was a teacher, my dad worked as an construction engineer, and they were both born and raised in South Carolina, and they were steeped in a landscape of segregation. They had old books. When my mother was in elementary school, her book said there were 8 planets instead of 9. Of course, back in 2006, they demoted Pluto, so it's Kalela again. But that's how old her books were in elementary school. Pluto as a planet was discovered in the 1930s. So so that's the kind of environment where my parents grew up. My mother was born at home. She was born at her grandmother's house, actually. And that house is still there because my grandmother had 5 children at that house, at her mother-in-law's house. And her last child, her 6th, she had in the hospital. So that's where things were. That's the kind of life that my mother and my father grew up in. My father has a lot of stories growing up too, and they weren't great. But their parents, both of my grandparents, both sets of my grandparents prized education. They prized learning, they prized books, and they prized curiosity and learning a lot about the world. I was walking through Columbia the other day, and my dad, he was saying, oh yeah, we used to go to that train station all the time because my mom would take us up to New York to go to see a show or go to the zoo out there, or we would go to the Natural History Museum. My father was 10 years younger than his siblings, and his mother sort of had more time and attention to give to him. And I thought, you know, how wonderful. Back in the 50s, you're going out to New York, you're taking the train, you're going out to have these experiences with your mom. And my grandmother's gone, both of my grandmothers, all of my grandparents are gone, but what an experience. So these are the kind of lives that my parents had in their families. So I grew up in Atlanta, and where I grew up, it was a house that was set aside, it was tucked away, and 40 acres of woods were behind my house. And inside my house, inside of our house, it was just full of shelves. Books and books and books, and set of encyclopedias, World Book encyclopedias that we got from a traveling salesman guy. And a lot of our shelves also held mason jars. Some of our shelves in the pantry held mason jars, a lot of mason jars. So that's because when I grew up, every summer that I can remember, my mom would take us to the farmer's market, we'd load them on fruit, and she would spend her summers making jam. My mom was a teacher again, so she had the summers off, and that's what she did. She made jams, we gave them out as gifts. She showed my siblings what she was doing. We helped peel fruit and cut up fruit and do all the things for jams and jellies. We stirred pots of apple butter, because you got to keep that moving. Some of you are nodding. So sometimes we'd take turns. Okay. I'd be stirring, my siblings would be out doing something, and I'd be like, and it would happen to them too. So it was just an experience that we all had, making these jams and jellies and preserves. And finally one day I asked my mom, I just assumed that my grandmother taught her how to make jam.
And she said, no, I'm not much of a cook, you know that. And I was like, oh, okay, well, how did you learn? And she told me the story that when I was about a year old and we moved into this house in Atlanta, and like I said, with woods behind us, away from we didn't have many neighbors, we were just kind of out there. Even though we're in Atlanta, it felt almost like living in a small town because we were just out there. And there were just loads and loads, and I still remember them, loads and loads of muscadine grapes growing in the trees. And you go out and you just smell them. How many of you have ever smelled muscadine grapes? Yeah, they're kind of intoxicating, aren't they? The scent, right? It's just like, you just breathe it in, and it's like almost avoidant, but it's like this delicious scent. And my mother thought, what can I do with these? What can I do with these? And she decided she wanted to make jelly. But she didn't know how to make jelly. So she went to the library, she got books, and she spread them out on the kitchen counters, and all these books about canning, some of them about preparing the fruit, some of them focusing on whatever it was. She took all these books and she had a little notebook and she made notes, and she used all these library books to teach herself how to make how to make jelly from those grapes, from those loads and loads of grapes. And then eventually she started making jams and butters. And she would pickle vegetables, that kind of thing. That was before pickled vegetables were all the rage. But she would make all kinds of things. She made ketchup. And she learned all of this from books. She taught herself all of this from books. And she probably did a lot of this when she was learning. I imagine she would have had kid on her hip, me. My siblings maybe right on that white laminate table, coloring or something. But that's what she did, and how she learned how to make these products that my siblings and I grew up with, this craft that we grew up with. And so while my mom was in the kitchen, maybe my dad was outside. I was never close to my dad for reasons that I could talk with a trusted therapist about. But I will say that when I was a kid, I used to always marvel at, he would suit up, and to me it looked like a spacesuit. And he'd put on this thing, put on this big helmet. And what it was a beekeeper's suit. Because my dad kept bees. He kept bees even before it was cool. It was the 1980s. I know now everybody has a backyard hive. Back then nobody had. I'd go to school and people would be like, "Your dad keeps bees." It was like what? What is this? And yeah, what? And actually, recently as an adult, I asked my father how he came to raise bees. And he told me a story from way back in the day of when he was working on a construction site as an engineer. He said this. He said, one day I was drove into work and I was about to walk into the trailer, but I saw this swarm of bees on a fence. It was a swarm of bees, a big old swarm of bees. And I said, if this swarm is still out here when I come out of work, I'm gonna take it home. So I went into work and I did whatever mess we were doing. I don't remember the project we were working on, but did that. And I came out for work and that swarm of bees was still there. So went back into the trailer, got a 12-gallon bucket, big bucket, and got some chicken wire. And I went out and I took a saw and I cut a section of the fence off. He had no regard for property. And took that swarm, put it in the bucket, put the chicken wire over it, secured that, took it home, put it in the living room. At the time, I would have been maybe 2. My sister would have been 3. My brother would have been 5. My mother passed away, unfortunately, before I could hear this story from her. And I wonder how many expletives she used. I suspect it was all of the expletives. But either way, now that my dad had harnessed the power of bees in the living room, he had to figure out what to do next. And so he went to the library and he got some books because he had no experience keeping bees. Why he decided to get a swarm of bees, you have to just know my father. So we got some books, and he spread them out all over the floor, and he took notes. And at that time, books had, they had lists of like supply shops and that kind of thing. So, because there wasn't the internet, of course. Again, this is probably what, 1980, maybe 81. Yeah, and he ordered a bunch of supplies. He ordered all the things he needed, including that big old spacesuit. And so when we were kids, our house, our shelves, along with jams and jellies, they had shelves of jars of amber honey. And there is nothing like homegrown honey. I used to bite the wax. We called it honey candy. We'd chew on the wax and suck out the honey and then just spit out the wax or whatever. I loved fresh honey. We'd give it to our teachers our teachers loved us for Teacher Appreciation Day. Between my mom's apple butter and my dad's honey, we were like, here you go. We do whatever we wanted. No, we were good kids. But we could have been much worse kids, and they still would have loved us. But that was my dad. He was this champion of bee husbandry, even if his people husbandry wasn't that great. We had friggin' bees in the house. We got children. But yeah. So this is something that I grew up with, and I remember watching my dad tend the hives from a distance, of course, and having that experience of these bees living in our backyard. And so what we see here in these books, they created experiences for me and for my siblings. They created memories. They created the most priceless family heirlooms of all, and that's stories. And we see a community coming together in this case, even if it's just our little family. So if my parents needed to learn to make jam or honey now, or harvest honey nowadays, some might say, oh, just go to the internet. You can learn everything you need to know from the internet. You don't even need books. You don't need books. Do we still need books? And I think we do. I think we do, because knowledge is everywhere. Sure, it's all over the internet. But website repositories of knowledge can be fleeting and capricious. We've all had the experience. Link broken, 404, error, message. Some guy didn't enable a redirect, so you're getting this error message. We see even history erased. Figures like Harriet Tubman, who a lot of us learned out, maybe everybody, learned about in elementary school, back in elementary school, erased from prominent websites. We see AI getting the facts wrong routinely, all the time. Those Google AI searches, and you're like, wait, what? No, I know better. No. Books are time capsules. They exist at a point in time. Even my mother's 1930s books about the solar system, they show us what we knew in that place in that time. And they also they bring us together in so many other ways. There's the experience of reading a book that's solitary, but there's also how we can share reading. We can recommend a poem to someone going through a bad day. We can walk in another person's shoes. And we do this all through books. We can learn how to do something we never knew. We can learn about a life that we never knew. We can learn how best to exist in the world around us through books. Maybe this is why libraries are institutions that were built to endure. Libraries were known and created to be the hearts of civilizations. Many historians acknowledge Syria as having the first library, Elba, dating back to 2500 BC, and it housed 20,000 cuneiform tablets. Ancient libraries existed around the world. There are the famed libraries of Alexandria in Egypt, Timbuktu in what's now Mali, the Imperial Library of Constantinople in Turkey, and many, many, many other ancient libraries, again, that were built to be these hubs of civilizations. I live in Charlottesville, I work in Charlottesville, and of course there's the University of Virginia, and at that point there's the old campus, the part of the grounds, excuse me, the part of the university that Thomas Jefferson designed.
And what was different about his university and other universities was he built his university centered around the library, the rotunda. It was a library. Most universities at the time were centered around the church, but he wanted this to be centered around books and around this repository of knowledge. And of course, today the United States has not just that institution, but it also has a Library of Congress. It's not a lending library, but it's a repository of knowledge. In Philadelphia, where I and a leader lived, there's of course the Free Library of Philadelphia where I work, which was built in the 1920s, 100 years ago. And there's also the Library Company of Philadelphia, which was created in the 1730s by Ben Franklin. And of course here, the Lancaster Community Library. And I really love that this is a Lancaster Community Library, because community is the center of what libraries hold and what they hold together. So again, from the smallest community, one family, we can see how books can shape and mold us in a watershed of ways. The experience of reading, again, solitary, but what we gather can be shared and shared and shared again. And I imagine my mom walking into this grove of muscadine grapes and wondering, what can I do with these and how can I learn? My dad looking at the swarm of bees and thinking, you know, these guys, they're gals actually, become a part of our family. 30,000 pets, outdoor pets, thankfully. But he knew that even with zero experience wrangling bees, he could learn if he visited the local library. So books, again, they bring us together in so many ways. And I want everyone, I hope that everyone walks away remembering and reaffirming to yourself how the work that you do, the work as an author, the work as an inspiring author, the work as a reader, the work as a person who says, you should read this book, who tells their friends, oh, read this book, or I read this book and it was so great, or I read this book and it wasn't for me, but that's okay, maybe you'll like it, or whatever it is, that you can come away with this experience of reading and learning and understanding and walking in someone else's shoes, this glue that keeps our communities and our societies and really civilization itself together. We live in a very fragmented world, but I think books are our hope. They are our tools for coming together. So the other day I was talking to my dad, and there was a lull in the conversation, and again, my dad and I aren't close, but I have these memories of him, and I have this experience, and today, this time, when I was talking to him, he said, you know, Kalela, why don't you ever raise bees? And I said, Daddy, I live in an apartment. Where am I going to keep these bees? In the parking lot? And he's like, yeah, that's a great idea. Just, you can keep in the parking lot. Just go to the library, get some books. And you know what? He's right. I could learn everything I needed to know, but I won't. Thank you all so much for joining me today and for being a part of this event. Again, I'm so happy to be here, and please come downstairs and talk with me. And yes, I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the festival.
Thank you so much for being here today and being with us. I learned more about bees than I ever wanted. Books, I know a whole lot about. I don't know about the bees part.
Yeah, I don't know if they're good pets for you.
Right. So you and Nate will be downstairs with the rest of the authors.
Yes.
And as you said, any questions that you have, we'll stop by and talk to her. Should we take a couple questions now, or should we just hold on?
Let's all just break and go downstairs.
I think the authors are anxious.
Thank you.
Thank you.